Welcome to Bucket List Careers, the podcast. I'm Krista Laurie. This is episode 156. We're recording here at LMC Media's studio on the Avenue in Mamaroneck, New York. And today, my guest is Mary Olson-Menzel for the second time, actually. Yes. Happy to have you back on the show. She is a founder and leadership/career change coach, now best-selling author. Thrilled to have you.
So happy to be here. It is so much fun to talk to you, Krista. I love it.
Absolutely. We have updates in your career pivot journey. We want to talk about your new book, What Lights You Up, which fairly recently came out and is already on the best-selling list. Good for you. Congrats. We want to dig into all of it, but I want to refresh my listeners about you, get some of your background. You transitioned a couple different times in your career evolution, and we were both TV reporters, which I love, so we want to talk about that. Clearly, you're a storyteller at heart, but you do say that connecting with people was also a big part of why you've pivoted to what you're doing now. So let's dial it back first.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So yes, started the career as a television reporter, innately curious about what made people tick, wanted to get the story on everything and everyone, and then transitioned. My first pivot was at the age of 23 and transitioned into recruiting, kind of fell into it and really had a very successful career in tech and media in recruiting. And then when I was in corporate America, they trained me from executive search to be a coach. And suddenly we found ourselves moving to New York and reinventing and pivoting again. Yeah. And with that, I started my own business. That was about 14 years ago. And we were doing at the time, it was executive search and leadership and coaching, career coaching, executive coaching, the works. And then I pivoted again because I realized that my love was the coaching side.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Is it about people? Is it about what you've been able to transfer skills-wise? You're obviously a great speaker. You're authentic in terms of what you bring to the table. But what do you think makes this your bucket list career?
You know what? It's helping people thrive in their own lives and helping elevate what people are doing into a place that's bigger and better than what they ever imagined.
Right. And so you were a TV reporter into recruiting. Where were some of your pivotal moments, if you will? And tell me how you were able to transition successfully.
Yes. Well, I think no transition goes without a little bit of intention and a little bit of, dedication into what you're doing, right?
Yeah, that's honest.
Yeah. Pivoting into anything it requires a learning curve and a thirst for learning, right? So I think we're all lifelong learners, and I know that I am. And I think those are the moments where you can kind of look out and see an opportunity ahead of you and think, okay, is this something that's going to light me up?
Yes, of course. You, as you said, you're a lifelong storyteller, you're connecting with people now, and now you're an author. So tell me about that in terms of obstacles and how you really found some of the stories that you illustrate in the book, some of whom are our neighbors and even a guest that I had on the show, Brooke Robinson.
Yes.
So let's talk about the origins of the book.
Whew, what a wild ride that was. And I think we could do a whole episode about book publishing and the journey that, goes, all the work that goes into that. Yeah. But the reason I wrote this book was because many years ago, I created a 10-step pivot methodology for my clients. And we were having so much luck with this. The clients were having such success that they said, can you have my wife go through this program? Can you have my husband go through? My kid, my niece, my nephew. And basically, we had a waiting list of clients and we couldn't clone ourselves. So I decided to write the book, and the book is truly my gift to everyone who is at a transition or at a, pivot point in their lives.
Yeah, you call it an essential guide and roadmap to help gain direction in your career journey. So what are some of the most important first steps? Because I think when it comes to, pulling the trigger on career change, a lot of people are stymied.
Of course, because it's daunting if you look at it all at once, right? And so what I tell my clients is start from where you are, right? Take a real deep look in the mirror and say, okay, where am I right now at this point, at this stage in my life? And is it aligning with what I've dreamed about doing? Is it aligning with where I want to go in the future? And if it's not, I mean, I hope it is, right?
Yeah.
That makes me happy if you're where you need to be. But if it's not, then really start to think about, how do I want to get to what that vision is, what that dream is.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of awareness work, self-awareness,
Mm-hmm.
at least as a starting point in mindset.
Yes.
So can you tell us a few stories that are in the book? Obviously, we want everyone to go out and buy it and read it.
Yes.
But give us some highlights of some of the pivot narratives that you feel really illustrate what it takes.
Yes. Well, can I tell you one that's not in the book?
Sure.
So that
let's do
people
it.
can go out and buy the book, and then they have a bonus one that's not
Love
in the
it.
book. This one is actually one of my favorites. And honestly, this was a woman who worked for an American icon. You can, kind of figure that out on your own, what American icon it is. But she lived in Chicago.
I like your teases.
Yeah, exactly. But she lived in Chicago, and she rode the wave for 20 years with this American icon. And then this icon, moved everything to LA. This woman, for very personal reasons, family reasons, couldn't move from Chicago to LA. So looked for a job for about 5 months on her own, banging her head against a wall. It's daunting.
Yeah.
If you don't have the tools or the strategy, it feels like a very, very hard thing to go through. Sure. And so then a friend referred her to me. We went through the 10-step pivot program, which is outlined in the book.
Okay.
And in the outline of what we do, we talk about where your passions lie. And one of her passions was travel. So we made a list of all the travel-related companies in the geographical area, and 12 interviews later, we ended up getting her a job as the chief storyteller of a travel company, a very big travel company in Chicago.
And what does that mean, a chief storyteller, in terms of social media, in terms of video marketing? What does she do?
Yeah, I mean, so the funny thing is I think this was about 6 years ago. They created this role for her. But what it is now people see it in corporate America all the time. It's like head of brand,
Right.
right?
Nice.
Yeah.
So, well, that's inspiring. And I think the work that you're doing obviously aligns with our themes. But let's talk about obstacles and roadblocks that you had to navigate to get here. I think one of the biggest reasons people can pivot successfully is because they're able to transfer skills.
Yes.
So what do you think, in your case, you were a reporter, but then you went into corporate America. What was most valuable for you in terms of what you brought to each stage of your career evolution?
Yeah, such a good question. I think the most valuable thing was my mindset. It was having an open mind to the opportunities that presented themselves, right? If I was solely focused on, kind of climbing the ladder as a television reporter, I wouldn't have been open to the opportunities when they fell into my lap, right?
Yeah.
So really having an open mind is the very important start.
Sure, of course. And now you're doing lots of media appearances. You were recently on NBC talking about your book and using your reporting skills, right? All of these things can be applied. Let's talk a little bit about why you believe that a person's narrative is particularly powerful in terms of career search, because you help people with change, but you also help with leadership and elevating, let's say, on the same track in an industry. Talk to me about the power of narrative.
Well, you and I know that stories matter, right? A good story is something that resonates with people. And it draws you in. If you know how to tell your story of your career, if you know how to create a narrative around, a very truthful, authentic narrative around your life, you're going to draw people in.
As opposed to just a resume that doesn't really speak to a future employer.
And in the book, I actually have a quote that says, "A resume tells, but a story sells." And, a resume can tell me your skill sets, but a story tells me who you are.
Yeah. And as far as the publishing world, how hard was it for you to break into that? Because when we did our episode, which is I think a couple years ago now, you, I think, just had a kernel of an idea, and here you are. You had a book launch party that I went to recently, which was very well attended, lots of supporters, lots of women in your corner. Talk to me about getting a book published.
Whew, it is a journey, and it is not for the faint of heart. I will tell you that.
Okay, was it harder than you thought it would be?
Way harder than I thought it would be. Okay. Absolutely. And I went the traditional publishing route. So there's 3 different ways that you can go when you publish a book. You can self-publish, You can hybrid publish, or you can go with a traditional large publisher. And I decided that for my first book especially, I wanted the experts in my corner so that they could help me navigate what I was doing.
And what do they help you with specifically?
Everything from editing to marketing to PR to the website. The website where the book, is hosted is all, done by partners of the publishing house. So it's interesting, though, because, a lot of people get an agent. I didn't have an agent.
Okay.
I just talked to publishers directly and ended up staying in touch. This is a great story, and this is very helpful and hopeful for people who want to write a book.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hear it.
It's all in the timing, right? So I was starting to write this book in 2019.
Okay.
And I was putting the concepts onto the screen and the framework for the book. And so I started talking to publishers about it back then. Then COVID hit, and we had, kids at home. I learned how to teach fourth grade along with the teachers at Chatsworth and all of that good stuff.
Totally.
But, at the time, we had a college kid at home, a high school kid, and a grade schooler, elementary at home. And so I put the book on hold because our coaching business also quadrupled in size and revenue at
Such a
that
good time for remote coaching sessions, right?
Yes. And every leader wanted to know, okay, how do I lead through crisis? How do I lead a remote workforce? How do I lead a hybrid workforce?
Yeah,
and so on and so on. So the book just went on hold. But those publishers that I had talked to, this is the power of your network. The publishers I talked to, I stayed in touch with. And then a year ago, I got a call from this amazing woman, Cheryl Segarra.
She reached out to you.
Yes, at Wiley. And she said, let's talk. And she said, this was the magical moment, which, by the way, happened a year ago on Halloween.
Is that right?
Yeah. So a year ago,
it's almost
exactly
an
a year ago.
anniversary. We're recording before it.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think your LinkedIn profile was helpful in that, in terms of getting noticed, in terms of staying relevant in the coaching space? And I don't mean to be negative about it, but it is a saturated area. So that leads me to my next question, which is, how do you stand out? How are you singular in your offerings?
Yes. Well, I think LinkedIn, to answer your question, absolutely. LinkedIn is, it is daunting if you don't know how to navigate it, but there's tips in the book for people to navigate it.
Oh, you talk about social media platforms.
Oh, yeah. And especially LinkedIn. From a professional networking standpoint, it's huge. And so I actually tell my clients to take a morning power hour. And this morning power hour is, you're having your first cup of coffee or your first cup of tea, and you're just going on to LinkedIn, which I also tell them, curate your news feed. Follow every company and every person that inspires you or that you may want to get in contact with or work for.
And comments.
And comment, yes. So that's it.
That engagement, I think, is valuable.
Yes, so that hour is literally you're looking at your news feed and you're saying, okay, oh, wow, Krista's doing something really interesting today. I'm going to comment on it. And actually, if I feel moved, I might even share it with my own comments. So then you're getting the algorithm truly to be working for you so that you're getting noticed on LinkedIn as well.
I agree. And it's not this concept of being sucked into social media as a vortex of not actually achieving anything. In fact, it's really advancing your goals to use LinkedIn. I agree with that. So let's talk about takeaways. I asked you this once before a couple of years ago. Maybe they've changed a little bit, but we like to hear about what, through your lens, people can take with them from this conversation in terms of finding professional purpose, finding something that you feel you were meant to do. And you say that this is your life's work now. So what are your top takeaways, Mary?
Well, I think it is really, first of all, you can do anything you want. If you put your mind to it, and you can't, there's no excuse for age. There's no excuse for, I don't have the time, right? Age is a number. And I have, a friend, Michael Clinton, who wrote this book called Roar into the Second Half of Your Life. And I said to him during our interview, I said, well, Michael, 50 is the new 40. And he said, no, Mary. 50 is the new 50. And you need to own it and embrace it.
Oh, I like that.
So no excuses, right? I mean, really, truly, you can do what you want to within the confines of your real life. right?
Right. I mean, let's be real. If your kids are going off to college, it might be a better time now
Yeah.
for you. And maybe that's a goal to set for yourself in terms of timeline. But I hear you. It's like more and more of my guests are second, third act people.
Yes.
And possibly people who've taken a career pause, but lots of pivots. It's just non-linear these days.
Yes.
And I love to see it. So anything else? We probably have time for one more big takeaway.
Yes. The big takeaway is, yes, you can do anything you want that you set out to do, but it takes time, and you have to be patient with yourself, and you have to create a strategy around it. And this book will help you create a strategy around it. But don't give up. Don't give up before the magic sets in, because it will come.
Oh, I like that. So what lights you up, everybody? Go find it on Amazon. And where should we follow you in terms of my listeners learning more?
Yes, you can definitely connect with me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Instagram at Mary Olson-Menzel, all one word, Olson. Also, that's the website for the book too, Mary Olson-Menzel, all one word.com. And you can see all of the worksheets and all of the fun stuff.
So you can get kind of a glimpse of what it would be like to work with you.
Yes.
I love it. All right, Mary, thank you again for joining me. I feel like perhaps we should do this again. We'll just keep checking in with each other. And it's so nice of you to share your wisdom with us. So thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Great to be here.
And that'll do it for this episode of Bucket List Careers. I am Krista Laurie. Thanks so much for joining. Be sure to follow me on social media, share an episode if it speaks to you. And until the next time, be well.